Hey guys, I wanted to come on here and give you a bit of an updated overview discussion on the Metamorphosed to Malleability story arc that I talked about, about a year ago or so as a web recommendation, and kind of give you an idea of how far it's come so far. Now, the story series Metamorphosed to Malleability is done by Jaquelidor, aka Michelle, on DeviantArt. A link will be provided in the description if you haven't checked it out yet. But for those that have, but have yet to be able to keep up with it because of other situations, other, let's just say, agendas, if you will, that you have to take care of, to give you guys a bit of an update as to what's going on. The way things are going from a story perspective, they're starting to get a lot more interesting. Right now, as of today, we are now 10 weeks away from the 175th shift or chapter. She calls them shifts to tie in with the story. And things seem to be building up at a very, I wouldn't say rapid pace, but they're building up at a point to where it really grabs your attention as to what's going to happen next and everything. Now, the one thing that Michelle does do at times to kind of, I guess you could say, break the cycle a little bit, kind of, divert from the, what's the word I'm looking for? Divert from the monotony, if you will, of the ongoing story series. The one thing that she does is she ends up doing these one-shot stories with the characters based in the same universe, but whether or not they're canon to the main story is up to her. She'll let us know whether they are or they're not. And there have been some that she's done based around holidays, like, Christmas, Valentine's, recently Easter, stuff like that. There's no doubt she's going to probably have one for 4th of July, stuff like that. So, to kind of break, the monotony, if you will, kind of distract, kind of divert, if you will, from what's going on an ongoing basis, she will do these one-shot stories. Now, the story series overall is actually very, very good. There is no denying about that. There's no getting around it. It is very, very good. I mean, if you want a story series, even if it's an original fan-made series, inspired or based on anything, if you will, and you want to make sure that story series is developed in a way to where everything is turning out good, no matter, how long it goes, then this series is one of those series from a fan perspective that's doing that, that's churning that out, almost on a weekly basis. To kind of get to what I'm talking about, since the first time I've talked about this and since its beginning to where it is now, the characters themselves have really come into their own. The story itself has developed into its own. And almost every day, I should say, or not every day, but almost every week, when a new shift/chapter is released, like I was mentioning earlier, it grabs your attention. It makes you intrigued as to what's going to happen next, along the way. And, there's a lot of story series out there, fan-made or not, that, with all due respect, don't really do that. They don't really do that at all. But this one has been doing it. Since the beginning, it's been doing it. And you could see exactly how far characters like Crystal and the main character Briella, who has these powers, have come. You could see how far they've come in their development. You can even see how far, Briella's best friend, Alana, I think that's her name, has come. As well as you can even tell how far secondary characters have come as well. And these are secondary main characters that will play a major part in the story and have played a major part in the story throughout the 165 shift/chapters. So, so it's, and here's the thing. all these characters, from a development perspective, have come a long way, and you couldn't ask for anything better than that. But you know, what exactly is going on right now? Why am I doing this video now? To kind of, you know, update you on what's going on. Well, again, like I said, things are starting to get more intriguing. Things are starting to get more interesting. Now, she did kind of, in story, did kind of try to take a break a little bit from the monotony, in story, in continuity, tried to lighten things up, you know, showcase the developing relationship between Crystal and Briella as an LGBTQ couple, as well as the friendship between, you know, Briella, Crystal, and Alana. So she tried to basically give us a bit of a slice of life kind of deal. But in between, and even now, she would go back to the other portion of the story series where things take a more, I guess you could say, more dramatic, darker route than expected. And what's interesting is, you know, how they're doing it. Because one character that's coming into play is called Greta. She's kind of like an assistant to this character called Duncan, who's kind of like one of the high people at this laboratory company where Briella developed her powers at, or ended up getting her powers at. Basically, Greta, who also has, I guess, a background in espionage, if you will, as part of the FBI at one point. I gotta go back and reread this. But basically, she has agreed to set up a school, or a little class, if you will, a mini class, for Briella to teach her how she could utilize her abilities to, you know, to get around into certain areas without being detected. In other words, kind of shapeshift, shapeshift basically just like that, without having to consider, okay, what do I shapeshift into? You know, just basically look at the environment and realize, oh, I'll just shapeshift into this. Boom, done. So, you know, it's one of those. So basically, that's one of those developing situations right now in the story, to where now you got somebody that's willing to teach her on how to go undetected and blend in with the scenery, you know, without thinking for one moment of exactly what to be. You know, she'll just automatically do it. And as far as Duncan goes, you know, he's obviously, you know, going to be, he has and will down the line be playing another major part in the series, because not only is he trying to respect Briella and her friends and her loved ones' privacy for the time being after what they've been through, but he's also, as a way of kind of, you know, kind of making things up to her, gave her a warehouse. Now, what's interesting about the warehouse is this is the same warehouse where that trouble that I just kind of alluded to occurred, because one thing that developed throughout the story series is we had this doctor, this renegade doctor, with the assistant of this renegade female, I can't think of her name, that Briella thought she could trust, you know, basically kidnapped Crystal to lure Briella into the warehouse, because she, the assistant, this renegade woman assistant, and mostly the villainous doctor, wanted the same powers that Briella had. They wanted the powers for themselves. Unfortunately for the doctor, things didn't go the way they should have. And the female that helped him, I think, ended up being arrested and probably getting some therapy or some psychiatric help along the way afterwards. But what's interesting, though, and how it works into what's been going on recently in the story, because this is kind of like a side story, it's a main plot, but it's kind of like a semi-main plot, if you will. Or it kind of goes back and forth. It kind of goes back and forth. Sometimes it's like plot B, but then it's plot A. It all depends on where Michelle positions it, I should say, focuses it with the story. Sometimes she'll put the Duncan, Greta, all that's, you know, darker, more dramatic, scientific parts of the story first, thus making it the main plot. Or they'll put it last, making it the second plot, or whatever the case may be. It all depends on the importance of where, you know, she feels it falls in the story series as far as that chapter shift is concerned. So, Anyway, long story short, basically, this, like I said, Duncan wants to basically make up to Briella for what happened, and thus he gets it renovated. That's what I'm trying to say. He gets it renovated, fixed up, but he gives her the warehouse, as a gift from, for what happened, so that she can have more spacious room than just like where she lives, to try her powers out, to basically develop her powers, have a little fun, stuff like that. And let's just say she's been doing that. As a matter of fact, one of these slice of life stories that was recently done about several weeks ago, she took her girlfriend Crystal over there to show off and have some fun. And let's just say they spent the night there as if they were in a hotel, because Briella's powers have developed to the point at where she could replicate a whole room and all the fixtures, I should say, not fixtions, but all the fixtures and trimmings that go along with it, as if they're in a fancy hotel and stuff like that. So yeah, you got these characters, but then you also have another character that we get introduced to, not just recently, but about a couple months ago, and it seems that she has her own agenda. Because one of the main things about this plot of the story, is exactly, it's exactly the question. What I'm trying to say is exactly the question of, wondering how the renegade doctor, the villainous doctor, got access to be able to do what he did to try to gain the same abilities that Briella did. And it's a question that, Duncan and Greta and others want to know about, even the review board. But they have yet to figure it out. They have yet to get like a straight answer, but they are investigating, or at least trying to investigate exactly what, caused this breach in security. And we got this other character, I think her name is Parietta, I think. And it seems that Parietta, just by reading her reactions, if you will, it seems she may have had something to do with it. And the way I'm talking, and what I'm talking about, I should say, not way, but what I'm talking about is, there are times throughout, not just the most recent chapter that dropped today, this evening, but other chapters prior to this, that when Duncan and Greta would bring up something about doing this or talking to this person or doing that, her reaction would be very suspicious. Like, she'd either be in shock, like, she'd be almost like, she'd almost be in a shock, instant reaction of like, oh, no, you don't want to do that, or are you crazy, or what do you mean, and stuff like. She'd have an instant reaction, like, basically she doesn't want him to do certain things because, it might give off or give away the act that she had something to do, or if not, did have something to do with that renegade doctor gaining access like he did. And unfortunately, that renegade doctor didn't last long, because apparently when Briella tried to replicate the powers that she had, the creation of her powers for the doctor, just to save her girlfriend, Crystal, who got kidnapped and was held for ransom because of that, let's just say, like I mentioned, he did not meet a very good ending, if you will. And like I said, the girl that helped him ended up getting obviously arrested and getting some therapy or psychiatric help or something like that. But anyway, like I said, getting back on point here, you had this Parietta girl, reacting the way she does, but then not just with an instant shock reaction, like going like, oh, why would you want to do that? No, are you crazy? Why would you want to talk to them or do this? But there's also times where she'll get like a little look on her face, or as Michelle describes it, a smirk, when they bring up something else, like, her working with this person, or her, talking to these people, or looking into this. And, she gets this kind of smirk on her face, like, okay, that could be interesting. Oh, okay. Okay, that will work. Or, okay, that might be fun. Like, you could, even though it's just visually written, you could visually in your mind kind of picture that, she's up to something. And like, this is like, if they go in the route that they suggest, that she kind of smirks up about, kind of gets that half smile about, it kind of alludes to maybe that could help out in her plans or something like that. But again, her instant reactions, actions, her instant, like, you know, reactions, if you will, of, oh, well, what are you, crazy? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to talk to them? Why would you do this? That definitely gives away the vibes that there's something more going on with the character. And that one of the suggestions, in fact, in the most recent chapter today, about talking to, let's say, a review board or whatever, she, you know, or somebody, I think, she instantly, her reaction was like, well, are you crazy? Why would you do that? And again, like I mentioned, that does allude to the fact that maybe she doesn't want something like that to occur, because that might lead things back to her, which inevitably I think is going to happen. Because right now, I think I said this at the beginning, but if not, right now we are at the 165th chapter / shift that was dropped today, which means we are 10 weeks, unless there's something that comes up personally for Michelle or something like that, you know, outside of the storytelling. We are now 10 weeks away from the 175th chapter, which means basically, if I can look at the calendar here, today's the 6th, so we got 66, 67, 68, if you will. Then we got 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 70. So by the 15th, from what I can tell, by the 15th, we should, around that time, get to the 175th chapter. The 15th of July, that is. You know, 11 days after 4th of July is when the 175th, unless something happens, you know, that kind of takes her away from doing it, which, you know, we never know what could happen, honestly. You know, unless something comes up, you know, and she's able to still go straight with us, even if it's releasing them early, we will be hitting the 175th chapter / shift by mid-July. Now, for you guys that will be reading this and maybe wanting to read the more latest chapter and then reading the others later, if you're wondering why they're talking about Christmas, it's because right now in their continuity, in their timeline, Christmas is happening. You see, you know, Michelle Jaquelidor, she will at times do one-shots, as I mentioned, I believe, where she will focus on a holiday, like Valentine's Day, or most recently Easter, even Christmas, Halloween, stuff like that. And whether or not it's canon to the main story is up to her. And she'll tell us in the description of whether or not it is canon to the main story. Because if it's not, you know, then, you know, we have nothing to worry about of, you know, anything in that story affecting the main story. But, you know, long story, but getting to the point, she mostly does these one-shot deals. Like recently she did Easter. She did one on Easter. Before that she did one on Valentine's Day. Before that she did one on Christmas. And then Halloween. I think she did one with Thanksgiving. And I think she's going to probably do one for the 4th of July. Along with, I think, the 173rd shift that she'll be releasing as well. But yeah, you know, for those of you that might be reading the main story right now, or will be reading it, or at least the latest chapter, and wondering why they're talking about Christmas, is mainly because of the fact that in that continuity, that timeline of this series, it's Christmas, it's December, and everything. I mean, I know some people would like that, hey, if they're going to do this, stay in real time, but that's the one thing about stories. You don't have to stay in real time. You could go and have it take place at any time of the year, and it would still work. And I've got a feeling that as they get closer to the Christmas one, and they get closer to a New Year's one in the main story, and thus that kind of ties into 175, that's when things will really get interesting, will really pick up. I do suspect that before that, they're going to that Michelle may do some calm before the storm, like slice of life deals, you know, to center around the holidays, and maybe even do one of those slice of life ones where Crystal and Briella kind of have some intimate NFSW like fun, if you know what I mean. And who knows, maybe one of the chapters, Crystal might end up getting her wish. You know, who knows, in my opinion. And what I mean by wish is because one of the stories I talked about that I did getting back into writing that I had to do as a second revise of an original story I did a couple of days ago. And I entitled it Crystal and Briella's Dreams Come True. I basically, because it's a one-shot deal, not canon, I had Briella come up with a formula that allowed Crystal to temporarily, at least for a certain X amount of hours, 12 hours or more, in this case it was more, end up having and developing the same powers that Briella had. So that's, you know, she was able to shapeshift, turn gooey and all that. And let's just say you have to read it for yourselves to see what I'm talking about. And I'll even provide that in the description. That link, that is. But overall though, like I said, unless that's, like I said, unless part of the Christmas theme or whatever in the main story is that, Crystal may end up getting the same powers, if not temporarily. We'll have to see. But right now, like I said, I think as we get closer to that time frame, she'll end up doing a little bit more slice of life deals to, tie in with it being the holiday season. Because they even allude that they're going to wait with the Duncan and Greta and all of them, and revealing to Briella some information she needs to know to protect herself and her friends and family till after the holidays. So I'm thinking in between then and now, from that continuity time frame, they'll probably do, Michelle that is, will probably do some slice of life stories that deal with the holiday, maybe even a slice of life one where, let's just, as I mentioned, Crystal and Briella get very intimate, NFSW like, and that maybe Crystal might get her wish, temporarily. Who knows? Because in my opinion, I think Crystal, in story, just my opinion, I think she kind of wishes, because the way her character is written, I think there's a part of her that would like to have those same kind of abilities that Briella has. Just to, at least for maybe one night, to share in the fun, gooey, shape-shifting playing and all that, to see what happens. So, who knows? That might occur, but that's just the vibe I'm getting from the Crystal character when it comes to this series. But overall, though, guys, I know this video has gone a lot longer than it should, but I do suggest checking it out. I think you guys will like it. You will enjoy it. If you haven't seen it yet or haven't read it yet, so go out there and read it, check it out. Give your support to Michelle, aka Jaquelidor, so she can keep doing this. She has other stories as well from a story series could be called Becoming Unlimited. That's another story she's working on, but she's kind of stopped right now because it's kind of, I think she's got the Becoming Unlimited deal. The 6 chapters she did ended in a way to where now she's got to think, okay, where do I go from here because of how it ended? And if you want to check that out when you're at her page, at her DeviantArt page. She's got the Cloth Shifter, I think that's one of them. And she's got Dust Child, I think, Dustman's Child. She's got a lot of stories, but the 2 main ones, like I said, are this one and the Becoming Unlimited series. So check those out. Give her some support. Alright, and that's really all I could say, guys. So thank you all for watching. I'm sorry if I was a little all over the place. I'm just waiting for, my mom to show up because I know, she just called me. She called me about almost an hour ago because she was at the gas station and she wanted to make sure nothing was parked in front of our house. And also the fact that she was telling me she was going to probably get some Kentucky Fried Chicken because she was thinking about that the other day. But this, yeah, as I was saying, sorry about that. I apologize if I was all over the place and everything because, my mom was on the way and then she probably just told me abruptly stop. She had just arrived and what she's doing right now is moving the truck so she can water the grass here and all that. So anyway, though, yeah, just wanted to apologize for being all over the place, kind of rambling a little bit. I was trying to do it as quickly as I could before that moment happened. But yeah, check out Michelle Jaquelidor at DeviantArt. Link will be provided below for the story series, as well as her site, as well as the one that I did in inspiration of it. And yeah, just let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. And I will talk to y'all later, guys. Take care. God bless. I'm out.